Second to last line from the bottom right at the two dots, Meisvei. Our shir this morning is dedicated by Manfred and Elaine Meisels in honor of the 50th wedding anniversary of Dr. Joseph and Ellen Miller. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, they, Millers, will enjoy many, many years of marital bliss together at Me'ah Ve'esim Shanim Tovos. All right, we'll say, let's begin. Meisvei. So the Gemara raises a kasha. B'damim hanitonin al mizbeach hachitzon. So we'll say, now take a look at Rashi for just a moment. What are we referring to over here? Says Rashi, B'tosefta de Zevachim b'medar amurim de b'matana achas pigel. So let's remember again, we were discussing the interesting machlokes Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim yesterday, namely about how pigel is affected. So remember again, the Gemara led off yesterday with a Mishnah that said pigel b'kometz v'lo b'lavona, b'lavona v'lo b'kometz. What happens if a person has a pigel intent by one part of the mincha offering, but not by the mincha offering in its entirety? So for example, you have pigel intent ultimately by the kometz, but not by the lavona, or vice versa. Rabbi Meir says it's pigel, and the Chachamim say it's not pigel. The position of the Chachamim is quite clear, which is the Chachamim say that a carbon cannot become pigel, until when? Ad sheyifagel b'chol hamatir, until you have a pigel intent in every one of the any one of the matirim, of every one of the necessary carbonic processes. Rabbi Meir Abosai said, now the sheet of Rabbi Meir is somewhat shrouded in controversy. There are two possible explanations of Rabbi Meir. It could either be that Rabbi Meir holds that you mefaglin b'chatzi matir, that you can make pigul even if you only have pigul intent by one of the matirin. That's possible. The second possibility of Rabbi Meir is kala oseh al das rishona hu oseh, that Rabbi say when you lead off with a machshavas pigul, even if you don't have continuous machshavas pigul, the carbon is nevertheless compromised. Those are the two possible explanations ultimately of Rabbi Meir. Now the Gemara ends off yesterday, the way we ended off, is seemingly saying that Rabbi Meir does not hold that kala oseh al das rishona oseh. He rejects that idea. He doesn't say that once you have intent, that intent follows you the whole way through. Rather, it seems to be that the sheet of Rabbi Meir is that once you have machshavas pigul by one of the avodas, that machshava carries all the way through. So now the Gemara will say challenges this. He said the Gemara is asking a kasha medar amurim. When do we say that ultimately, again, if you have a machshavas pigul by one of the matanos, that ultimately it works? We'll say that's only on blood applications on the outer mizbeach. Rashi says bidamim hachitzonim shmatana achas materes mefagelasban. See, Rabbi say by blood applications by the outside mizbeach, the halacha is that really you just require one application, one hazah. So therefore again by the mizbeach hachitzon, if you only require one hazah, if you have machshavas pigul by one hazah, that is enough ultimately again to go ahead and make the carbon pigul. Aval, both at top of members, aval b'damim hanitonin al mizbeach hapnimi kigon arboim v'shaloshim kippurim. So we'll say, but when it comes to the blood applications on the inner mizbeach, for example, like the 43 blood applications of Yom Kippur, or va'achadasar shapal kohen Mashiach, or the 11 blood applications of the par kohen Mashiach, or va'achadasar shapar helam davar shel tzibor, or the 11 blood applications ultimately again of the par helam davar shel tzibor. So we'll say in all of these cases, pigel bein barishona ubein b'shniya ubein b'shlishis. If you had a machshavas pigel, we'll say either by the first set of blood applications, the second set, or the third set. Rabbi Meir omer pigel. Rabbi Meir says the carbon is pigel. V'chayavin alav karis, and you will be chayiv karis. V'chachamim omrim ein bo karis ad shi pagel b'chol hamatir. On the other hand, the chachamim hold that the carbon you are not chayiv karis, carbon does not become pigel until you have machshavas pigel when? B'chol hamatir. In every step, ultimately, again, of the matirin, of the carbonically mandated processes. Take a look at Rashi, which is the moment Rabbi saying, Aval b'damim hapnimi kigon arba'im v'shloshim kippurim, achas l'mala v'sheva l'mata bin abadim. So Rashi here, again, so you look at this Rashi, and Rashi goes through where we get to 43 by Yom Kippur, although we're going to challenge that number in just a moment. So we'll say, so interesting enough, what this Gemara is saying over here is as follows, that when do we say When do we say that matana achas is mefagel? That's only ultimately again by damim hanitanan al mizbeach achitzon, where me'ikar adin all you need is one hazah to make it kosher. But ultimately again by the blood applications on the inner mizbeach, apparently you require some complete avodah in order to make it pigel. So it says the Gemara, what do we see from here? Katani miha, what do we learn from here? Pigel, bein barishona, bein bishnia, bein bishlishis. So here's what's interesting. What's interesting is as follows, that if you look at the wording of this Mishnah, so the Mishnah says whether a person had a machshavas pigel, and on both sides, it says whether he had a machshavas pigel, bein barishona, bein bishnia, bein bishlishis, by the first, by the second, by the third. We'll say, so first, second, third over here, remember, doesn't mean 1, 2, and 3, it means sets or units of hazos. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says, Pigel bein barishona, b'matonos shalifnai v'lifnim, which refer to the blood applications inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, bein b'shnia, or the second set of hazos, which is where? Ala paroches, on the curtain of the Kodesh, between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim, or bein b'shlishis, al mizbach hazav. Or you go ahead and you sprinkle the blood on Mizbeach Hazav, on the inner altar, the golden altar, which is the incense altar, inside the Kodesh. Upalik. And I will say, what do you see? That Rabbi Meir still goes ahead and still argues. Look at Rashi. Upalik. V'ka'amar Rabbi Meir pigol ve'im kan mishum das rishona. Now I will say, what do you see from here? Rabbi Meir still goes ahead and argues on this case. So remember again, the Chachamim are true to their shita. The Chachamim hold that halacha l'maisa, a carbon only becomes pigel when ad she'ifagel b'chol hamatirin. You have to have a machshavas pigel in every part of the carbonically mandated process. Now I will say, now the way we're leaving off over here is that Rabbi Meir ultimately holds that the kala osa al das rishonu osa. Well, that's the Gemara's challenging. We wanted to suggest that the shita of Rabbi Meir is that once you have machshavas pigel in the beginning, that machshava carries all the way through to all of the other avodos as well. Now we quote this Mishnah. And what does Rabbi Meir say in this Mishnah? Rabbi Meir says, whether you have machshavas pigel, barishona, the first set of sprinkling, b'shnia, the second set of sprinkling, b'shlishis, the third set of sprinkling, the carbon is pigel. So we'll say, what do you see from here? Look at Rashi, upalig. Rashi says upalig, v'kam Rabbi Meir pigel. So Rabbi Meir holds that if you have a machshavas pigel during sets 1, 2, or 3, the carbon will be pigel. Ve'in kam yishum das rishona, ela de kasavar mefaglin bechatzi mater v'tyutu de shlakish. So we'll say it's clear from the fact that Rabbi Meir holds that if you have machshavas pigel during sprinklings 1, 2, or 3, that the carbon can become pigel. Clearly says that what? Rabbi Meir doesn't subscribe to this concept of kala osa al das rishona osa, because we'll say these are cases where what? Where according to Rabbi Meir, even if you had machshavas pigel by the third unit of sprinkling, which is the sprinkling on the golden mizbeach, the carbon becomes pigel. But we'll say that's not das rishona, that's das shlishis. And yet what do you see? That Rabbi Meir still holds the carbon can become pigel, which shows you what? Rabbi Meir's shita is not kala osa das rishona osa. That's not his shita. Rather, what is it? That ultimately, again, what we call mefaglin bechatzi matir. Mefaglin bechatzi matir, will say, means that if you have machshavas pigel, even by what? Even by one of the matir, and by one of the avodos, ultimately, again, that is enough to make the carbon pigel. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Avin, Hachamay, and what's the case? Kigon shepigel b'shit b'shchita. We'll say, what's the case we're dealing with over here? The case over here that Rabbi Meir, that the Mishnah is referring to, is where a person had a machshavas pigel during the shchita. During the shchita, the chad matirhu. Ultimately, again, I will say, because this is a case of chad matir. Now, what does that mean? Take a look at Rashi. She pigel b'shchita, v'had dekam Rabbi Meir pagel b'shnia pigel kigon shenishbach hadam la'achar shenigmar matanos shebifnim. We'll say the case over here of Rabbi Meir is where a person had the machshavas pigel during the shchita. Now we'll say, now during the shchita is a complete avoda, and it's also what? The first avoda. But how do you apply that ultimately when Rabbi Meir says during the first set, the second set, or the third set? We're dealing with a case where we'll say, where let's say the blood spilled after the first set of hazos. What happens if the blood spills after the first set of hazos? You go ahead and you shecht another animal and use that blood for the second set, for the third set. Therefore, the Gemara is suggesting over here it's quite a novel interpretation that when Rabbi Meir says that you could have a machshavas pigul, I should say that a machshavas pigul by the first set, second set, or third set is enough to make the carbon pigul. First, second, or third means in a case where you're shechting a new animal for the first, second, or third. In which case, again, I will say, is you're having machshavas pigul during the shechita, and what? This, in fact, is an example of kala osa al das rishona hu osa. This will, in fact, be an example of someone who goes out and shechts and has machshavas pigul at the beginning of the avoda. The Gemara says, dechad matiru. Ultimately, again, it's one matir. Because the shechita is the first thing that's being done. The machshavas pigul is therefore again occurring at the first stage of the karban, and this can still be an example of kala osa al das rishona hu osa. Okay, so the Gemara says, ihaki, if that's the case, my time with the Rabbanon. We'll say, if that's the case, then why did the Rabbanon hold in this case that the carbon won't be pigul? Amarava, man chacham, we'll say, so who are the chachamim? So Rabbi Elazar, the chacham reflect the view of Rabbi Elazar. We'll say, what does Rabbi Elazar hold? Rabbi Eliezer, disnan, hakomitz v'halavona v'aktoras, minchas kohanim, minchas kohen mashiach, minchas nesachim. Supposed to listen to this. So first of all, let's read that again. This time, hakometz v'halavona v'aktoras. So we'll say Rabbi Eliezer holds as follows: the kometz, which is the carbon mincha, the 3 fingerfuls of the carbon mincha, levona, the frankincense, kitoras, minchas kohanim, minchas kohen mashiach, minchas nesachim. Shehekriv echas mehen kezayis bachutz. We'll say, if any of these karbanos, if you go ahead and you offer up a kezayis outside of the Beis HaMikdash, chayiv. One is chayiv. However, but Rabbi Eliezer poter, Rabbi Eliezer says you are poter, ad sheyakriv eskulon, until you offer up the karban in its entirety outside of the Beis HaMikdash. We'll say, take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Rabbi Eliezer da'afilu bahalas chutz poter b'shnei matirin. Well, Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that even for Allah's chutz, even for offering up a carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash, one is only chayiv when? One is only chayiv ultimately again when one is offering up a carbon in its entirety outside of the Beis HaMikdash. But if one is only offering part of a carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash, then what? Then halacha lemaisa, one is not chayiv. This is Shittas Rabbi Eliezer b'shnei matirin. Alma lav avoda hiklal ad sheyigmar kal ha'avoda. We'll say Rabbi Eliezer's logic is because an avoda is only considered to be a complete avoda if it's done in its entirety. Therefore, if you only offer up a kezayis of a carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash, one is not chayiv for that. Va'af agav daktaras kezayis hava haktara kidiktani hasam v'kulan shektiram bifnim b'shir behem kezayis v'kriva b'chutz chayiv afilu l'Rabbi Eliezer miu heichad lo gamer avodahi lo chashav le'lichiyuve ala b'chutz hachenami af agav d'shchita avoda shlimahi kevan shein ha'avoda nigmara b'sir zer levado shina ba'el lahashlim v'avoda achas yishanasas b'shtayim v'shlosh shchitos ina shchita chashuv as so listen to this. So the Gemara suggests, who are the Rabbanon in the Mishnah we quoted before? The Rabbanon is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is one who holds that if you go out and you offer up a kezayis outside of the Beis HaMikdash, you're not chayiv. So what do you see from here? You see from here that avoda is only considered to be avoda if what? If done in its entirety. Therefore, again, the Rabbanon, who is really Rabbi Eliezer, in the Mishnah will say, who disagree with Rabbi Meir, and say, therefore, if a person only has machshavas pigul, by what? By shchita, or by one of the avodos, that is not enough to make the carbon pigul. I will say, there is a group of what we'll call carbonic purists or carbonic absolutists who hold that halacha lemaisa, in order to affect the change in a carbon, that change must be holistic. That change must be complete. Same way you're only chayiv for shchutei chutz if you offer a carbon in its entirety outside of the Beis HaMikdash. You're only chayiv ultimately again for pigul if you have in mind in the entire carbon. But if you're just what we'll call piecemeal violation, it's aser. Let's be clear, it's aser, and you have the ability to invalidate the carbon, but it will not go ahead and make it pigul. Ayvam Rava, but Rava said, "Umod Rabbi Eliezer b'damim." But yet, one second, we learned that Rabbi Eliezer agrees ultimately again in a case of damim. We'll say which means what? That even one hazah b'chutz has the ability to go ahead and make the carbon pigul. So even Rabbi Eliezer, who normally holds that for shchutei chutz you only chayiv if you offer up. If you do all of the avodos b'chutz, but ultimately again holds that blood applications you will be chayiv even for hazah, one hazah. This nan, because we'll say we learned Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon Omrim mimakom shepasak misham hu maschil. We'll say this is actually quite interesting because we learned that Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, both say this is by the avodah of Yom Kippur, hold that from the place that where you stopped, that's where you pick up. Now, what does that mean? Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. This I will say it's in the intermediate lines of Rashi, about 6 lines down. This time, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, pligiat hanakam damar nasan mikzas matano shebifnim v'nishbach hadam. Both saying so they're dealing with the case of Yom Kippur. Let's say the following situation occurs in Yom Kippur. Some of the blood applications are done, and then what happens? The blood spills out. The blood spills out. So what's the halacha? Yavi dam acher v'yaschil betchila. So we'll say, so ultimately again, so the Tanakama holds that if the blood spills, so what do you have to do? You have to start over. You have to bring a new animal and start over. Ho'il v'lo gamar osa kapara. So we'll say, since the kapara was incomplete, if the blood spills, you have to begin the avoda again. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon Omrim. So Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon say, no, you don't have to begin again. Rather, what do? You just bring a new animal, and what Rabbi say? You pick up from where you left off. Alma avodahi v'pigo lechiv chutz kamdam. So what do you see from here? What you see from Rabbi is now. Why is the Gemara bringing this up? Because Rabbi Eliezer essentially is holding is that when the avoda stops, you could. Let me say it differently. By Yom Kippur, when the blood spills, you could pick up from where you left off, which Rabbi tells you what? Partial avoda is significant as well. If partial avoda is significant as well, then what? Then even again a machshavas pigul by one of the avodos should also be enough. And yet we're saying that the Rabbanon who say that partial pigul doesn't do anything reflects the view of Rabbi Eliezer. But even Rabbi Eliezer seems to be saying that what? That halacha l'maisa partial blood avodos are significant. If that's the case, then partial blood avodos ultimately again by pigul should make a pigul as well. To which the Gemara says, Elo Omer Rava, what's the case over here? Kigon shepigul barishona v'shasak b'shniya v'chazar upigul b'shlishis. Well, this is actually quite interesting. So Rav will say, what's the case? What's the case of the Mishnah we're dealing with over here, where you had a machshavas pigul in the first part of the avoda, shasak b'shniya. You had no machshava by the second part of the avoda, and you had another machshavas pigul by the third part of the avoda. So we'll say, look at Rashi for just a moment. Ela Amar Rava, li'olam b'shepigul b'azos. The case over here is where you had pigul ultimately again by the hazos. Rashi says, u'tikakashi l'cha katani pigul b'shniyo b'shlishis v'kasaka da'itcha d'rishon shasak v'kamar Rabbi Meir pigul. So we'll say, what's the case? See, we thought ultimately that the case of the Mishnah is where, let's say again, you didn't have machshavas pigul by the first one, you had it by the second one or by the third one, and then Rabbi Meir holds that it's pigul. The Chacham say it's not. Now the only way to explain Rabbi Meir in that particular case is to say that what? That mefagel b'chatzi matir is pigul. That even if you have machshavas pigul by a partial avoda, that is enough ultimately to make the carbon pigul. But the Gemara is suggesting over here that that is not the case. Rather, what's the case? I'm finishing Rashi. Both say the case of the Mishnah is I had a machshavas pigul by the first avoda, no machshava by the second avoda, and another machshava by the third avoda. Uli olam time darimer mushum the kasavar shtika hashniya adas machshavas harishon nasas kris. So listen to this. So therefore, again, what's the case of the Mishnah? The case of the Mishnah is I'm doing the carbon. I have a machshavas pigul by the first set of blood applications. I'm no machshava by the second set, and another machshava by the third set. Rabbi Meir says it's pigul. Why is it pigul? Rabbi Meir says because kol ose al das rishona hu ose. Whenever you go ahead, once you have machshava in the beginning, as long as you have no contrary machshava, that kavana carries through. The Rabbanan say it's not pigul. Why? Because the Rabbanan say you have to have an active machshavas pigul by every step of the avoda in order for it to become pigul. So the Gemara says, "Mav detemor." I've thought, "Isagadai tchal das rishonahu ma'ader piguli b'shlishis lamali." So you will say, "I might have thought that halacha l'maisa, according to Rabbi Meir, if you hold kala osa das machshava hu osa, then why does the individual need to have another machshava by the third set of hazos. Having a machshava ultimately again by the first set should be enough. And the fact that ultimately again he has another machshava by the third set tells me that what? That we don't say kala osa das ushona osa. Kamashwan, that's not the case. Kamashwan, ultimately again, that halacha lemaisa, even though he has a machshava by the third set, that doesn't take away from the fact that kala osa das ushona osa. Look at Rashi again for one moment. Ma'udetema, Amrinan Isak Adaitcha kala osa das ushona osa, mehadar piguli b'shlishis lamali, kamashmalan, kilomar, v'haydin nakat chazer upigal b'shlishis, Rabus Ashmoinon, the afag of the Chazur Pigo B'Shlishis, I mean in the Shtika Shnia, Nami al Das Machshava Kamaisi Yava. So the Chiddush over here is that what? We're saying that even though he's quiet during the second part of the Avodah, we still attribute the Das of the first part of the Avodah to that second part of the Avodah, and therefore what? The carbon is Pigo. So what I say, therefore the way the Gemara is framing it over here is that Halacha L'Maisa, the Machlokes in the Chachamim and Rabbi Meir is in the realm of Kala Osa Das Rishona Osa. Rabbi Meir says, once you have Das in the beginning, as long as you have no contrary Das along the process, the carbon is Pigo. The Rabbanan say, no, in order to become Pigo, what do you have to do? You have to have Kavanas Pigo, what we call B'chala Matirin, in every necessary step of the carbonic process. So Maskiv le Ravashi, Midi Shasa Katani, Ravashi says, 1 second, the Mishnah says Shasak, right? I also remember the Lashon over here is Pigal bein barishona bein b'shnia bein b'shlishis, right? It doesn't say Shasak. You're framing the case of where a person had machshavas pigal by the first and the third, but Shasak he was quiet by the second. That's not the Lashon of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says bein barishona, bein b'shnia, bein b'shlishis. Amar Ravashi, you're right. Hachama askinun, what's the case? Kigon shepigal barishona ub'shnia b'shlishis. We'll say the case over here is where you had active machshavas pigal by the first, second, and third hazos. Well, if that's the case, Ma'udetema, what would I have thought? So we'll say, I don't understand. If that's the case, that he's having an active machshavas pigal by all three, then what? Then I would have thought as follows. Then obviously we're not holding of the concept of kala osa das ushono osa. Kamashmal, and I will say that what? That Rabbi Meir in fact holds kala osa das ushono osa. Even though the case of the Mishnah is where he has ultimately again machshavas pigal by hazos 1, 2, and 3. Even though Rabbi Meir technically does, Kamashmal Rabbi Meir doesn't technically require that. Rabbi Meir holds that halacha l'maisa, as long as you had das rishona, that's enough. Amud beis, I vaha bein katani. But 1 second, that's not what the Mishnah says, right? The Mishnah will say the Mishnah says bein. We'll say bein means what? Bein barishona, bein b'shnia, bein b'shisha. So we'll say, what does bein mean? Bein means either one, but either one means that's what? Not all of them. So how can you set this up as a case of where he's having machshavas pigal in every step of this process when this is clearly not what the Mishnah is saying? To which the Gemara says, Kasha. You know what? That is a good question. In other words, we'll say, so that undermines ultimately the effectiveness of that last approach. Amr, so we'll say, Vaiter. Amr mar. So we'll say, so again, just in the say where we're holding. So we'll say, so where are we holding? So remember again, here's the interesting part about this discussion. Everyone is going to agree that Rabbi Meir holds that if you have a machshavas pigal by some part of the avoda, technically, or I should say, everyone could hold according to Rabbi Meir, even though you don't have machshavas pigal throughout the entire avoda, technically the carbon can still become pigal. The shaila is why. So we'll say, so some hold that's because Rabbi Meir holds that mefagel bechatzi matir. Rabbi Meir holds that halacha l'maisa, you could affect pigal through a machshavas pigal, even through only one of the avodos. The other opinion says no. Meir's opinion is kala osa al das rishono osa. That in general, as long as you have das ultimately by the first of the processes, that is enough to what? And you don't have contrary das, that makes it pigal. Both of course, the nafkamina between those two approaches is what? Is whether or not, according to Meir, the one avoda you have machshavas pigal in is the first one or not. According to the first approach, it could be any avoda or any hazah. According to the second approach, the hafka has to be the first. According to the Rabbanon, the shitas of the chum is obvious. Everyone's agreeing with that. That Allah Chamaisa carbon only becomes pigal when? If you have machshavas pigal throughout the entire process. So Amar Ma'bar Avashi. So Amar Mar Rabbi Meir says, Pigol v'chayaven alav kares. So we'll say, go back for just a moment. Look at Rashi. Amar Mar, Aman de mehadir lo ukmi time v'der Meir mishum mefaglinon b'chatzi matir kaparech nihinami de ba'alma b'kometz u'levona ikal Meir mefaglinon b'chatzi matir ela b'chatzi zrika hechi Amar Rabbi Meir Pigol. So we'll say, watch this. So remember again. So we're going back and talking about the case of the Ketores and the Levona. Rabbi Meir paskin, the Rabbi said, even if you just offered one of them with a machshavas pigol, it becomes pigol and you're chayiv kares. So whether you offered the kometz or you offered the Levona, or Levona, ultimately again the mincha becomes pigol and you're chayiv kares. So let's analyze this. Michti kares lo mechayiv ad sheyikrevo komatirav. Now, we kind of always seem to agree that one is not chayiv kares until one abosai, until one has a machshavas pigol with komatirav. Komatirav means what? With all of the permitting aspects of the carbon. One is only chayiv pigol if one has a machshavas. I should say one is only chayiv kares if one has a machshavas pigol for all of the matirin. The Amar Mar kartzas kosher kach kartzas pasol. Because Rabbi Say Mar said, and it's actually a very important concept, that Rabbi Say the same halachos that apply to create an effectiveness in the carbon also apply for the invalidation of the carbon. What does that mean? Mahartzaos kosher ach yikrevu komatirov. Rabbi Say, just like in order to go ahead and make a carbon kosher, so ultimately again all of the matirin, all of the permitting parts of the carbon have to be effective. So too af hartzaos pasol ach yikrevu komatirov. We'll say so too ultimately again to make a carbon pasol, all of the matirin have to be pasol. For example, so the Gemara says ach yikrevu komatirov. So we'll say in the case of the carbon mincha. So we'll say what that sounds like again is what we've been saying up until now, which is that in order to make a carbon pasol, essentially they're mirror processes. Whatever you need to make a carbon kosher, those are the same processes which must be undermined to make a carbon pasol. So the Gemara says, so let's analyze this. So we'll say, now literally, so we'll say, that actually points out over here, they're talking about by the Kodesh HaKadoshim, by the Hazos Bifnim. So we'll say, so by the Hazos, by Yom Kippur, where we're doing the Hazos ultimately again in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so psula, Kiman delo adidami. So we'll say, if you start off, and let's say again, you don't have the right kavanos, by the hazos bifnim, by the sprinkling of the blood inside the kodesh hakadoshim, then what Rabbi was saying, that invalidates the rest of the carbon, and even if you go through the motions of doing the other hazos, it's as if they have not been done. Ki hadar madi behechol maya ba'almahu dekadi. We'll say, so listen to this. So halacha l'mais, what the Gemara is pointing out over here is as follows. If it's true that we follow this paradigm, that whatever is necessary to create carbonic effectiveness is also necessary to invalidate the carbon. So let's analyze this. Let's take Yom Kippur, for example. Let's say the Kohen goes ahead and does not follow through, or it does something inappropriate with the hazos, with the sprinkling that's on the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Rebbe say, what does that do? That invalidates the carbon, which then means that even when he subsequently goes ahead and sprinkles the blood in the Heichal, Ma'ya ba'amahu deka'adi. Ultimately again, he's only sprinkling water. In other words, we'll say that subsequent hazos, ultimately again, is totally ineffective. Now we'll say, b'pashtos, why would Rabbi Meir hold that therefore again that could affect pigol? In other words, we'll say, Rabbi Meir seems to be saying over here that mefaglinan bechatzi matir. You could create pigol even with a partial avoda. What the Gemara is asking is a fundamental shaila. Let's say we're using Yom Kippur as an example. Once you do something invalid at the beginning of the avoda, then what? It essentially invalidates the rest. Now, what you were just saying is, according to Rabbi Meir, even if you go ahead and have a machshavas pigol by a partial avoda, that is enough to go ahead and undermine the avoda. But why? Once you go ahead and, for example, you do something inappropriate with the hazos, with the sprinkling of the blood inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, we'll say that effectively invalidates everything else. Which means that when you're sprinkling the blood in the Kodesh, for example, what are you doing? You're sprinkling blood. Not really. That's the effect. It's the same thing as sprinkling water. So why would you be chayiv for that? Amar Rabba. Rabba says, "Mashkachas la ba'arbas parim ubedalet tziyim." So we'll say. So Rabbi gives a more convoluted answer. Rabbi says the truth is, you will say you can figure this out in a case of where you're using 4 parim and 4 seirim. Rashi points out over here, Mashkachas la dehadikam Rabbi Meir pigul ba'arba parim pigul ben abadim b'chol matnosov v'nishpach adam v'shachat acher v'yizal parochas v'echad ala kronos v'echad l'tarosh hamizbeach v'chayvan dekaymelam b'sei the yoma kulu kapara b'fnei atzmo v'yavdinu kilchas and miskasher b'avod b'hachi afilu rabbanan the pli galei Rabbi Shimon. So we'll say, so the Gemara essentially answers over here, which we're going to reject in just a moment. You could come up with a case like this, where ultimately, again, I will say, essentially, every time you shecht and you collect the blood, you spill the blood, and have the necessity to shecht another animal. So if you're shechting another animal, essentially, you're beginning again by each avoda. Fine. See, we're not going to spend time on that answer. Rava says, no. Let's refocus ourselves. Afilu tema b'par echad u'sir echad. So we'll say, ultimately, again, let's refocus ourselves in dealing ultimately again with one animal. So we'll say, so you hear what the Gemara is asking over here? The Gemara is asking, which is a very obvious shaila. The Gemara is asking a fundamental shaila ultimately again, Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, you seem to be accepting the approach that mifaglinan bechatzi matir, that ultimately again, you could affect pigul even through one avoda. I have a fundamental issue with that, says the Gemara. Because once you go ahead and, let's say, invalidate one avoda at the beginning, does that not effectively render the subsequent avodos invalid? And therefore, if you were to go ahead and have a machshavas pigul by any of those subsequent avodos, why should the carbon become pigul? The carbon is already invalidated. To which the Gemara gives a very interesting answer. Rava amar afilu tema b'par echad v'sar echad lepigula meratza. We'll say this is very interesting. What does it mean, lepigula meratza? We'll say, look at the wider lines in Rashi, 4 lines down. Lepigula meratza ki hechi dimchasha b'shchita Kari le lezrika dam hapasul hazeh karba matira of l'ratzos lepigulo ki chashav le bechatzi zrika nami v'shasak bechatzia calls mashal ir b'machshav acheres havritzi lepigulo. We'll say, essentially what the Gemara says is as follows: that sometimes even a carbon that is compromised can still become pigul. Or as we'll say that even though again there is an almost like a cloud of psul that's hanging over this. For pigul purposes, you could still make it pigul. I will say it almost sounds like it's not a knas, it's not really a knas, but it's saying over here is that even though again the carbon's been compromised, ultimately Rabbi Meir still holds that it's carbonically intact enough to ultimately become pigul. Okay, so the Gemara goes weiter. I suppose I say now the Gemara asks a technical question. Going back on the Mishnah that we started with today, the Gemara spoke about. Tried to make a distinction between the blood applications on the inside and the blood applications on the outside. So the Gemara gave an example of the inner blood applications. And what was the example? Like the 43 blood applications of Yom Kippur. So now the Gemara asks on that. The Gemara says, Arba and V'shalosh, are there really 43 blood applications on Yom Kippur? V'atani, we learned another brayso, Arba and V'sheva. There are 47 blood applications of Yom Kippur. To which the Gemara says, don't worry, Hakiman Dar Ma'arvin Lekronos, Hakiman Dar Ma'im Ma'arvin Lekronos. So we'll say there's a machlokes. We'll say what's the machlokes? It's actually very interesting. If you look at Rashi, Hakiman Dar, we'll say it's in the wider lines, 7 lines in. Hakiman Damar, Pukti Rabbi Yosher Rabbi Yonasan B'matan Akronos, V'lokach Midam Apar Midam Asar. We'll say, listen to this. We know that we have blood of the cow and blood of the sa'ir, of the goat. So we'll say, what's the machlokes? The machlokes is, are those blood applications of those respective bloods done differently, or are the bloods mixed together? If you hold that they're done together, then what? You have 43 hazos. If you hold that the bloods are mixed together, then what? If you hold the bloods are done separately, you have 47 hazos. If you hold the bloods are mixed together, then what? You have 43 hazos. Which is very interesting. The Gemara says, "I've had tanya arba mishmona." 1 second. There's another brayso that says what? It's not 43, it's not 47, it's 48. So we'll say, Hakimadar Shirayim Ma'akvin, Hakimadar Ein Shirayim Ma'akvin. I will say, here's the interesting shaila. The shaila is ultimately, again, Shvicha Shirayim, the pouring of the leftover bloods down the drain by the Yisod. Is that considered to be part of the avodah as well? So you have to link this all together. So if you hold that halacha l'maisa, you offer up the blood of the sa'ir and the par separately, then that gets you to 47. Plus, if you hold that the pouring out of the blood is part of the avoda as well, then what? Then ultimately, again, that's 48. So what's amazing about this, by the way, is this, unfortunately, is a manifestation of galus. So you'll say to yourself, how could there be a machlokes about this? After all, again, we know we had the Beis HaMikdash, we know what the Kohen Gadol did. So also, again, after years of galus, it begins to become a little bit clouded. So I'll say, Emir Hashem will have to wait for Eliyahu Hanavi ultimately to go ahead and tell us what's done on Yom Kippur. But we know ultimately we're dealing with a minimum of 43 and a maximum of 48. The 48 includes all the possibilities of separate applications for the par, separate applications for the sayir, and a pouring of the blood down the drain, ultimately again as part of the avoda. The Gemara goes weiter. So now the Gemara raises another kasha. When is this said? When is what said? Look at Rashi. Medar Amurim. Betosefta de Menachos Katani la Medar Amurim. Shamincha nifgila or nipagla ba'avoda achos. I will say, going with the approach of Rabbi Meir, that a carbon could become pigul even with one avoda. When is that so? B'kmitza. We'll say that's true with the kmitza. B'maton kli, when putting the carbonic material in the utensil klisharis. Behiluch, transporting the carbon. Avabolo lahaktara. I will say ultimately again, if the Kohen comes to go in and burn the carbon, Nasan as hakometz b'machshava, if he places the kometz with machshavas pigol, ve'es halavona b'shtika, and I will say he says nothing by the lavona, no kavana by the lavona, o shenasan as hakometz b'shtika, ve'es halavona machshava, or he places the kometz b'shtika, in other words, no explicit intent, but the lavona is placed with machshavas pigol. Re'emir omer pigol ve'chayavan alav karis. Re'emir I will say says that halacha l'maisa again, it's pigol, and you're chayav karis. The Chachamim say, "Ein bo kares achi faga b'chol amatir," and the Chachamim say that what the carbon only becomes pigol when until again you have machshavas pigol b'chol amatir, in every step of the carbonically or every necessary carbonic step. Katani miha. Both say, what do you see from here? Esa komes b'shtika v'esalavano machshavo palig. They both say, so again, what do you see from here? You see from here that in Rabbi Meir, both say, there's a case of where you did the kometz b'shtika, no machshava by the kometz, and yet what? You did have machshavas pigol by the lavona, and yet what does the Brisa say, Rabbi say? That it's pigol according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi say, what does that show you? That shows you once again that according to Rabbi Meir, the issue is not kala osa das rishona osa, because we'll say if it was kala osa das rishona osa, then this wouldn't be pigol, because at the end of the day you're not doing a das rishona. Rather, what do you see from here? That according to Rabbi Meir, it's that mefaglinon or mefaglin bechatzi matir. That we'll say even if you have machshavas pigol, even by one of the carbonic processes, that is enough according to Rabbi Meir to make it pigol. To which the Gemara says, Ima kvar nasanas halavanu machshava. So we'll say the Gemara says, no. Say that according to Rabbi Meir, the case is where what? The case is where kvar nasanas machshava. We'll say where you already went ahead and put the levona b'machshava, which I will say indicates to us that the first stage was the machshavas pigol as well. To which the Gemara says that doesn't make sense. If that's the case, Rabbi saying that's the same thing as the first case in the Brisa, where ultimately again the Kemitza was done with machshavas pigol. Va'od hatanya va'acharkach. Furthermore, the Brisa explicitly says what acharkach afterwards, which indicates to us that what that halacha lemaisa, the first stage was not done with machshavas pigol, and the second stage was. To which the Gemara says kashya. That is really a good question. So we'll say, for our purposes, although it's interesting to try to figure out what the approach of Rabbi Meir really is, to a certain point, halachically, it doesn't matter all that much. Why? Because we paskin like the Chachamim. We'll say, the Rambam in Hilchos Psuli HaMukdashin, Perek Tes Zayin, Halacha Zayin says as follows, Chashav Machshavas Zman, B'shas Kmitza, Avalo B'shas Likot Halavona. We'll say, a person has Machshavas, what's Machshavas Zman? Machshavas Zman means that a person had in mind to eat the carbon outside of the prescribed time, which Rabbi means what? Pigol. Person has machshavas pigol at the time of the kmitza, but not at the time of the taking of the lavona. O shechashav machshavas hazman b'shas likot halavona, avalo b'shas kmitza. Or you have in mind ultimately what? Machshavas pigol during the time of the lavona, but not during the kmitza. Harezu psula, the carbon is pasul, ve'eno pigol. But Rabbi say it is not pigol. Ad sheyachshav mashavas hazman bechol hamatir shu hakometz im alavona b'shas kamitza v'hakometz liket alavona. So we'll say salocha lemaisa again. So we see the Rambam Paskin is like the Chacham, namely what? In order for a carbon to become pigol, ultimately again you have to have machshavas pigol bechol hamatir in each and every one of the carbonically permitting steps. So we'll say that now again. I want to be clear. The Chachamim will agree that if you have machshavas pigol by one of the steps, what's the status of the carbon? It's possible, but it doesn't become pigol until you have machshavas pigol in all of the steps. Right? So we'll stop over here. I'll share with you a short idea on the parasha. So we'll say in Parshas Naso, there's so many beautiful parts to the parsha. One of the magnificent parts is the Birchas Kohanim. Chodesh Baruch Hu gives Aaron HaKohen. It's amazing to think the verbiage to bless Klal Yisrael until this very day. The Yivarach Hashem Yishmerecha, Yer Hashem Panav Elecha V'Yichunecha, Yisa Hashem Panav Elecha V'Yasim Lecha Shalom. The very psukim ultimately again that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the Kohanim to bless. Again, those words are so profound, by the way, that even us plain folk, right, even as Yisraelim, use that same verbiage to bless our children on Shabbos night. That's how profound those brachos are. So I just want to draw your attention to Parak Vav Pasuk of Zayin. At the end of the Birchos Kohanim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "V'samu eshemi al b'nei Yisrael v'ani avarachem." So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this is the command to Aaron, place my name, v'samu eshemi al b'nei Yisrael, place my name on Klal Yisrael v'ani avarachem, and I will bless Klal Yisrael. So we'll say the Karliner Rebbe of Asher of Karlin says something so magnificently beautiful. Rashi says, what does it mean, place my name on Klal Yisrael and I will bless them? Va'ani avarachem liYisrael va'askim im haKohanim. So Kodesh Baruch Hu tells the Kohanim, you bless Klal Yisrael, and when you bless Klal Yisrael, I'll agree with your blessing. You bless them, I'll agree with your blessing. Ask the Rebbe such a profound question. V'lama yesh tzar shaKohanim yivarechu ha'sa'am im bein kach HaKadosh Baruch Hu maskim. I don't understand. Why do the Kohanim have to bless Klal Yisrael? If HaKadosh Baruch, the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to agree, divine agreement means what? Means what? That God's going to bless us also. So tell me, no offense, Kohanim, but if God's going to bless me, I don't need your blessing. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bless me, so why do I need the Kohanim? Right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu yochel levarchem ba'atzmo. And furthermore, if God's going to quote unquote agree with the blessing and bless us anyway, then what? Why do I need the Kohanim to bless me at all? We'll say such a profound shaila, such a problematic Rashi. It's embarrassing that I've read this Rashi so many times and never thought of this shaila. Kohanim, you bless the people, and once you bless them, I'll agree with your blessing. Shkoyach, Kodesh Baruch Hu, if you're agreeing anyway, that means you're blessing me. No offense, Kohanim. If God's blessing me, that's good enough for me. I don't need the Kohanic blessing. If God's agreeing, why do we need the Kohanim to bless at all? He says something amazing. Get ready for this. See, Rabbi say, the Ribbon Shalom sees everything and knows everything. Therefore again, Roa Adam shemisparich bechol tuvis asher yosser miderech hayosher. See what I'm saying? Kodesh Baruch Hu knows everything and doesn't just know the present, also knows the future. He knows that if Ploni, so and so, is blessed with material wealth, material blessing, then what's going to happen? He's not going to do the right thing. Vim came. Lo yirtze levarcho b'ashiros. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't really want to bless that person. Well, he's using material wealth as an example. You can fill in the blank with anything. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that if certain people are given certain brachos, they're not going to do the right things with them. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't bless them. Vilu hakohen she'ino roa ve'ino yodea asido shel adam lo yimana habracha. See, I will say, when the Kohen gets up, what does the Kohen do? What's the machshav of the Kohen? The machshav of the Kohen is, I want every single bracha to devolve upon every single person I'm blessing. I want them to have health. I want them to have overflowing parnasa. I want them to have mas. I want them to have everything. See, the Kohen wants every person to have everything. Why? Because the Kohen doesn't know in the kishkas of the person. The Kohen doesn't know that if Ruvain gets wealth, Ruvain's not going to do good things with the wealth. The person doesn't know that if Ruvain gets this bracha, Ruvain's going to abuse that bracha. The Kohen doesn't know that. So what does the Kohen do? The Kohen just blesses everyone with everything. Get ready for this. So listen to how beautiful this is. Zevachim says to the Kohen, listen, I know too much. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I know too much. I know about Ruvain. I know what he's done, and I know what he's gonna do if he gets all of these blessings. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I, in all good faith, can't give it to him. I can't bless him with it. But Kohen, you don't. All you see is a wonderful, beautiful Jew in front of you, who in your heart you believe deserves all of the blessings. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the Kohen, do me a favor, you bless him. You bless him. You bless him that he should have every single bracha. Va'ani avarachem. And once you bless him, I have no choice but to agree with that blessing. Even though I know those blessings are not the best thing for you. I will say, this is mamish like spoken like such a true parent. That what happens, sometimes again, the parent knows something's not going to be good for the kid, but the kid wants it. The kid wants it, so at a certain point in time, the parent says, okay. I don't mean something terrible for the kid. I mean okay. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, I know what brachas are going to be good for my children or not. Right? And therefore, again, I withhold certain things. You, Kohen, you see the people, all you want to do is shower bracha upon them. You bless them for everything. And when you bless them for everything, ultimately what? I'll agree with your bracha. I'll agree. Avsha brachos lo yavi osel esna gustova gam kin askim leberchas kohanim. I'll agree with the bracha. I'll agree with the bracha. Even though, again, I, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, maybe would not have given that bracha. Maybe that bracha is not the best bracha. But once you, Kohanim, are blessing them, I will ultimately agree with your brachos. We'll say that's the pshat, ultimately, says the Kalina Rebbe. Va'ani avarachem. You bless Klal Yisrael, and ultimately, again, I'll mirror your blessing. Va'askim ima Kohanim. In other words, we'll say HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, even if they're not this, and you could extend this, because what the Kadosh Baruch Hu says is sometimes I don't give brachos to people because they're not deserving of it. But you Kohanim, you don't know who's deserving, who's not deserving. So therefore, what do? You bless everyone. Well, once you're blessing everyone, then I have no choice ultimately again but to go ahead and agree with that bracha. And I will say, it teaches us two incredible lessons. So three incredible lessons. One about the incredible power of Birchas Kohanim. We'll say one about the job of a Kohen. That the job of a Kohen ultimately again is just to daven for bracha for every single person. And I will say, it teaches even us, aside from just Kohanim, it's for all of us. I will say, when we look at one another, sometimes again, when we look at each other, so we see each other with such a critical eye. We see each other like we have an uncanny ability to look at another person and to size up all of their faults within 30 seconds. You ask me to diagnose what's wrong with Ruvain, I could give you the list in alphabetical order in a minute flat. I'll tell you everything that's wrong with him, and even stuff he didn't know that's wrong with him, I could find that's wrong with him. Well, see, that's not our job. Our job when it comes to our fellow Jew is for one simple thing. Daven that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give them bracha. And Ribono Shel Olam, even if you've withheld bracha from Ploni because you don't think he or she deserves it, give it to them anyway. That's not just the job of a Kohen. That's the job of a Jew. To look upon every single fellow Jew with such love, with such chen, and have one wish for them. I just wish for you all of the brachos in the world. And reciprocally, I hope you hope for me all of the brachos in the world. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that the way we interact with one another is, I just want all of the brachos HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in his arsenal to be showered down upon you. And when you look at me, you say, I just want all of the brachos HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in his arsenal to be showered down upon you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, I didn't give all the brachos to Silber. I didn't give all the brachos to Ploni because I know A, they don't deserve it, or B, they're not going to do good with it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, what am I supposed to do? If when they look at each other, all they want is for brachos to be showered upon one another, va'ani avarachem. If they're blessing each other, if they're yearning for good for one another, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I have no choice but to agree with that bracha as well. We'll say we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem, to wish brachos upon one another, to only daven for the good and the success of the other. That when we look at each other, not to see deficiencies in the other, but to see someone who's so good, so pure, so holy, that they deserve all of the brachos. And halavai, and that's the chos of wishing brachos upon one another. Kadosh Baruch Hu should indeed rain down all of the beautiful brachos that He has in Shamayim upon each of us, each and every day.